It's the Exit 52 podcast, Thursday, September 4th. We are brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. And my friends, it is officially NFL Week 1, and we are officially here to preview the Baltimore Ravens going up to Buffalo to take on those pesky Bills. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined, as always, kicking off Week 1 of the previews with my guy, Spenny Football. How is it going tonight, pal?
Going well. We got Eagles, Cowboys on the docket. If you haven't seen my press box picks, head over to pressboxonline.com. Or I'll just tell you, I'm looking at George Pickens, longest receptions. George Pickens, 60-plus yards. He had 55 yards, I think, in 9 of the 14 games he played in, going into a higher pass volume offense with a better quarterback on a team that can't and maybe doesn't really care that much to run the ball, as opposed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has CeeDee Lamb on the other side to take some attention away. Kenyon Mitchell, I imagine, is going to try and play around with CeeDee Lamb a little bit, so they got to take some shots there. Love that one. Jalen Hurts touchdown. Saquon Barkley, longest rush, 30 yards, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Love all those plays. So we got football. It is back. The fantasy drafts have concluded. I just finished my 13th underdog best ball about 5 minutes ago. Have some wild, weird stuff there, but it's time. The pizzas are in the oven. The beer is in the fridge. The fantasy football is loaded, and I'm sure you're going to start tippy-tapping your thumbs around those sports books if you're so inclined on your cell phone. So it's here. It's summer. It's football. It's all of the best things. It's great golf weather. It's college football kickoff. We don't know who's good yet, but we're hopeful. Everybody's hopeful. That's the fun stuff, right? So I'm excited. I'm tickled pink. I got my little purplish pink sign back here ready to go. So loving it. Loving it. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. This is one of my favorite nights of the year. That first game back, that Island Thursday night game, always a great time to just kick it back. And football, it almost doesn't feel real at first, right? It almost is like, wow, this is actually back. This isn't the preseason slop that I've been subjected to. This isn't the first couple of weeks of college football, which is great, but it doesn't quite hit like the NFL for your boy. So to sit down and watch real NFL football is fantastic. I do wish we had gotten a bit of a better matchup here in this spot. I understand the Eagles, Cowboys, it's a big rivalry, and I also understand they didn't know that the Cowboys were going to ship off Micah Parsons, and that was going to be kind of a sad boy franchise as we head into what feels like it could be a coronation night for the Eagles, but who knows? Maybe the Cowboys will take this personally and try to show some fight and show some vigor. I hope so for their sake that's true, and for my own entertainment's sake, because I am not exactly juiced up about this matchup in a way that I might have been last year. Obviously, I was biased with the one last year, but Ravens-Chiefs, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that for a week 1 matchup. So bit of a fall off, in my opinion.
It's, it's a very narrative friendly game, I suppose. It could be a little bit more.
Well, I'm not super into the narratives. I'm like one of these ball knowers. I love to get deep into the scheme and the tape, and this one just doesn't really speak to me in that way.
I understand it. It's the final fall of the Cowboys under Jerry Jones, it feels like, as he is really getting up there in years. So I understand that part of it, but I mean, there will be, it'll hit you, and who knows? I mean, Cowboys might make this exciting. You never know. But yeah, not quite the kickoff that we're used to in terms of quality of team. I mean, Saquon, no Micah Parsons on the edge, is probably going to run wild. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Anything else in the rest of the slate that is catching your eye? Tomorrow we have Chiefs Chargers.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Colts, Steelers, Jets, Panthers, Jags, Cardinals, Saints, Bucks, Falcons, Giants, Commanders, Bengals, Browns, Raiders, Patriots, 49ers, Seahawks, 2 teams we talked about in our 256 preview the other night that were both kind of like crabs, kind of just dancing around a little bit. Texans, Rams, there's a fun one. Ravens, Bills, of course. So aside from Ravens, Bills, anything that catches your eye?
I'm excited for Steelers Jets. I'm not like super optimistic about either of these teams. I think I predicted both of them to miss the playoffs, but I'm always interested in Rodgers and what that's going to look like. And the older he gets, like, it's more like, can he remain looking competent? I mean, he looked okay in spurts with the Jets last year. How is this going to look with a new look Steelers team? that has brought in a bunch of new high-profile, big-name players. We're going to have to see how they all kind of mesh together. I'm not so sure it's going to work out great, but it kind of seems like a big sort of, I wouldn't say last hurrah for Tomlin, but it feels like maybe the biggest kind of push our chips in thing as the Steelers have done probably since the end of the Big Ben era. So that's a lot of fun. And then obviously with the Jets, I really like Aaron Glenn. I like the kind of culture builder profile that he seems to project. I'm interested in the idea of Justin Fields kind of getting one last shot as well. I know you're very into that too. And I feel like on a run-heavy team, which I love the report that came out today from Dan Graziano that the Jets are expected to have a run-heavy game plan in week 1.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. So now that I see that, things are a little changed.
Wow.
Sucks to see Elijah Vera Tucker get hurt. Already you're kind of behind the 8-ball offensive line-wise, which they have been the last couple of years. So I hate seeing that, but I don't know. I just think that's like obviously you can have your Chiefs and Chargers. That's going to be a fun island game down in Brazil. Ravens Bills Sunday night. That's probably your best game of the week. But I don't know. I think in the week 1, like when every team still kind of has hope, you can sort of sell yourself on just about any game being good. And it's kind of like, I look at some of these mid-tier games. You mentioned, who was it, Bucks Falcons there as well. I'd look at that as another one, like some measuring stick games to find out here, and kind of just like aesthetically, what are these teams going to look like, and how are they going to be moving the ball, and how are they going to be playing defense? And I don't know. I'm very intrigued. I'm excited for week 1.
Couple of the teams in that sense that are intriguing. I mean, the NFC South has been bad for a while. The AFC South has been bad for a while. So a couple of those teams, like you mentioned, the Bucks and the Falcons. Can the Falcons, look the part? They have a lot of great pieces all around. They have some young pass rushers they're relying on overall. And then Panthers, Jags, 2 teams out of those 2 divisions. Those southern divisions are just, they love their SEC football, a little more lackadaisical with the NFL. So big like momentum starters for those teams, I would think. You can really feel good when you have those young rosters in many ways. Get off to a hot start, can make them feel good, make you feel like you bought the right, supplies at the store to cook the meal. So curious to see Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, 2 obviously top quarterbacks, top prospects, long-term top prospects going back to high school, and guys that went to premier programs, played in massive games and all of that, who have not performed to the billing. So those guys, I'm looking at both of them. Somebody's got to step up here. Somebody's able to get off to that hot start. Somebody's able to cause disappointment for the other. So no, you guys aren't here to talk about those, but we just enjoy football overall. Vikings Bears Monday night. That's awesome. JJ McCarthy's first start. Ben Johnson, familiar in the NFC North. NFC North definitely a must-see division in football, I would say, this year. All 4 teams have what it takes on paper, at least, to get there.
That's what I'm saying about week 1, man. You can sell yourself on all these games. Like, there's no dud primetime games. There's no this, that, or that. It's just like
that is the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, the slate is clean, and you're ready to watch some football, for better and for worse. And really not too much for worse this week, because like I said, the NFL sells hope better than just about any league or any sport really out there. And pretty much every fan base is coming to the season with some hope, probably, except for my hitters down in New Orleans, who may be hoping for the number 1 overall pick, and they may be getting that.
They certainly might. With that in mind, and the parity of the NFL, I mean, the salary cap, I was thinking about baseball contracts, and everybody talks about baseball contracts. And obviously, Pablo Torre has this unsheathed story that we have talked about on here, I don't know, 5 times, our theories. I've mentioned Kevin Durant, how I think Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and was paid in Bitcoin under the table. I said that years ago. And Tom Brady, like, it's no surprise that this kind of shit's been going on. So I don't know, just an interesting thought experiment. We're about to watch Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson square off for the 5th or 6th time. These teams are playing all the time now. But just was thinking in my head about an hour ago, thinking about Pablo Torre, some of his comments. He was going back and forth with Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban wanted to kind of get into the weeds with him and didn't think that was necessarily.
Like they just chopped up a 3-hour podcast on this. Yeah.
They already did the interview.
Yeah. So I think Pablo's, either him or his podcast, tweeted out like the screen grab of them on the Zoom call. And then Cuban I think strategically was like, hey, what do we chat for 3 hours? That was great. I think Cubes did that on purpose, because he's like, I don't want him cutting this thing up and making it a lot shorter. And if it's a lot shorter, then I could say he gave me a bad edit. That's the mastermind Cubes right there.
Well played from the PR sense, but I've always, Mark Cuban's always been an interesting guy in many ways. But my question to myself was, I mean, if there's take the salary cap out, what is Lamar Jackson? What is Josh Allen's worth in 2025? Like, I don't know, $750 million. Patrick Mahomes might get $1 billion contract quick. Bam. Salary cap's gone. We're resetting everything. Open bidding on Patrick Mahomes. $1 billion.
Yeah, it's insane. It's literally, it would be $1 billion. Like, think about it. Like Juan Soto playing on the New York Mets versus Patrick fucking Mahomes. Like, it's the most insane thing in the world. I listen, I think the salary cap is great for competitiveness, and I think it's good for, like you said, parity and balance. So all of that is very good, but it's just, it is, when you really sit down and think about it, it's like, holy shit, baseball, those guys knew what they were doing when they were collectively bargaining all this stuff.
The economic impact of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and I'll throw Mahomes in overall, if you're a college kid listening to this and you're going through business school, like we did, go freaking write whatever you can about that. That is a fun experiment on the total economic impact. I'm sure there's probably 100,000 of those essays going around, or theses or whatever, but that is just a fun thought experiment. I don't know. What is the total economic impact that Patrick Mahomes has? And
I think our guy Big Randy from No Laying Up, many years ago, he did what he called the Tiger tax, and it's basically like how much money Tiger Woods made for other PGA Tour players over the course of his career, because purses were like pretty much nowhere in like the early to mid 90s. Golf was like a much more niche sport than it is even now, and right now it's not even very big yet either. But man, like he just came along and he blew it up, and it's like you see that effect elsewhere. I think you could probably point to a Steph Curry. You could point to a Mahomes. Obviously, 20 years ago, it was LeBron. Before that, it was Jordan, who kind of really kicked off the whole player as a business type model. It's interesting how like turning into a consumer society over the last 40 to 50 years has really kind of ballooned all of the money in sports and everything. I am fascinated by that.
Certainly. Always an interesting thought experiment. 13 minutes in here. You guys came here for a Bills Ravens preview. We've done our usual thing, so we'll have to put maybe a little skip note to where the Bills Ravens preview.
Oh no, listen to the full thing. Come on. Let's keep our attention spans good. Let's allow for a little fun and easy banter. There's no problem with that.
That's why the people like us, I guess. So with that in mind, at this point in time, I'll just start out with this. Let's go Ravens Bills history here. The Ravens have lost 3 of the last 5. In the Josh Allen and Lamar era, they are a clean 3-3 with a thrashing of the Buffalo Bills in, I believe, week 1, perhaps week 2. I believe it was week 1, September 9th, 2018. The Ravens shellacked the Bills 47-3. Overall, the Ravens lead this series 7-6. I'll call it in the We'll explore maybe some previous remembrances of games back in the day, just for fun. But in the Josh Allen Lamar era, these games have been decided by one score, and I'm going to start that at 2019, not that 2018 game. These games have been decided by one score in 2019, in 2022, and in 2025. The Bills, of course, shellacked the Ravens in the playoffs on January 16th, 2021 in the divisional round, 17-3. With one of those touchdowns being 101-yard pick six, one of the ugliest plays in Ravens history. The Ravens, of course, ran rampant off of Derrick Henry opening the game with that famous crunch play that has aired thousands and thousands of times. Just a true moment that I think will cement Derrick Henry ending up becoming a notable Raven in his career and be viewed that way. We can get into that discussion more. And then, of course, last year, heartbreak in Orchard Park. I witnessed it live, 27-25. The Ravens marched down the field. Lamar Jackson surgically throwing a dot to score a touchdown. The Ravens go for 2. Mark Andrews, wet gloves in a tough game for him. The last time we need to bring that up will be on this episode. I'm rooting for the guy more than I can put into words now that the season is here. But a brutal 2 games in Orchard Park. The last 2 times they've gone there, they have lost. They did beat the Bills there in 2019, 24-17 in the Lamar Jackson sleeves game, where Lamar did take off his white sleeves and then go ham. So that prick 49ers guy, it's those comments all the way back then. How far we've come since then. So a little bit of history on these two teams. Obviously, the most notable chapter, the most recent one in one of the more notable, entertaining, weird games probably in the last 5 years, kind of in this generation. Obviously, with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen tethered together in that elite group of quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and some others knocking at the door. But that was the latest chapter. So here we are as the Ravens travel to Orchard Park to take on the Bills on Sunday Night Football this Sunday evening. What comes to mind after all that, Jake?
Man, yeah, it just feels like yet another chapter in what really has developed, in my opinion, into the preeminent rivalry in the AFC, certainly, and maybe in the entire NFL. And I say that because, like, yeah, you could say, oh, well, the Chiefs are the one you really want to be gunning for. And I think that's true, but nobody has been on the Chiefs level, frankly. Nobody has.
The Bills certainly haven't beat them. The Ravens certainly haven't beat them. And the Chiefs just continuously go to the Super Bowl.
This matchup reminds me of 10, 15 years ago when it was always New England or Indy at the top of the conference. And then you'd have the Ravens and the Steelers kind of fighting it out for that third or maybe second seed every once in a while and trying to win in the AFC North. And, that rivalry was obviously born out of the Steelers being in the same division. And I think also the two cities being kind of similar, blue collar, maybe a little overlooked in certain instances. I think you can say a lot of the same about this rivalry between Buffalo and Baltimore right now, and maybe it's not going to stand the test of time because they're not in the same division and they're not going to play each other necessarily every year, but they have played each other a lot over the last 6 or 7 throughout this Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen era. And that's the other thing, obviously, linking them big time over the course of that time. If you'll remember, you went over the history there. I'm not sure if you mentioned, you might have, that these guys, their first NFL game was against one another and they both saw the field. Neither of them started. Flacco starts for the Ravens. It turns into a big Ravens blowout. So Lamar gets in. And then I think it might have been Peterman starting for the Bills. I remember being at that game. Josh gets in kind of late in that one as well. So their first time ever playing in an NFL game, they got to go head to head effectively. And since then, you mentioned the history. You mentioned the Bills having a little bit of a edge in the win column there. And man, there's just a lot to this rivalry. Like I said, I think these fan bases are maybe more similar than they like to admit at times. Maybe both have a tendency to get out of pocket on each other here and there. And these quarterbacks, both very similar. You could probably interchangeably say they're either 1 through 4 in terms of best quarterback in the NFL. And obviously you had the whole narrative with the MVP, both in 2023 when Lamar had kind of worse stats than Josh and winds up winning it. And then last year, Josh has worse stats than Lamar and he winds up winning it. And man, like I said, this is just, to me, this is the premier rivalry in the NFL right now. And that's kind of the way I've been framing it in my mind. And I am excited. And regardless of the outcome, obviously, I hope the Ravens win, but I just kind of hope for another classic because I think the NFL sort of needs this right now. Like, where is kind of the juice rivalry wise outside of like this? And whenever these two teams play the Chiefs, sure. But like, that's, again, not really a rivalry. Ravens Bengals is always fun, but the Bengals have missed the playoffs the last couple of years. This is just like this is really like your Ali versus Frazier, as close as you can get to it. So
it is. And I like the comparison you made. The Chiefs are kind of alone in a sense, but Indy and New England, then there was that little, we can't beat those guys in the playoffs right now. And then it was the Ravens and Steelers. Looking to Bills roster, the additions they made, things like that, obviously very familiar. I didn't bring tape to this one. You don't need to go rewatch that game. You can go do that. We did that. That's been done. It's a new chapter. But in that new chapter, the additions for the Buffalo Bills, 2 that are suspended currently, one of which I didn't realize until 90 seconds ago. Michael Hoyt, a versatile defensive lineman who had spent time with the Rams. Is it the Rams? Yeah, with the Rams. 4 years with the Rams. Really nice piece for them. I like a lot. Fits right into that Kyle Williams feeling, white boy, versatile, big boy, mosey around, 6'4", 310 from Bills of yesteryear. And Larry Ogunjobi, who has given the Ravens fits, frankly, over the years. I mean, always been someone on those Steelers teams, Browns teams that has been explosive and able to make plays. So both of them suspended for this game. Michael Hoyt, I completely forgot about. Love that addition for the Bills. Don't know the suspensions, but I assume they are missing this game. They're listed as SUSP on ESPN. Then Von Miller is out. Joey Bosa in on a 1-year deal, which is interesting. Joey Bosa had a lot of injury issues. He might fit in really well in Buffalo, and they might be able to nurture him. Joey had a lot of injuries. Miles, another one of those guys that was a 5-star Ohio State dominant player, has probably 4 or 5 10-sack seasons, but certainly didn't live up to the billing as that defensive player of the year caliber player that his brother kind of has been, frankly. But who knows? Joey is the big brother. He is also
little NB smaller bear representing for younger brothers everywhere. We love to see that.
Yep. And Joey is the big brother. Just to remind you, he is the literally bigger brother. Just to remind you. But those additions, Josh Palmer on the offensive side of the football. One more, Trey White, who is not practicing right now. Obviously, was with the Ravens last year. Headed back, was in Hard Knocks. I watched not all of the episodes. I think I watched 3 of the episodes of this one. It was pretty solid. But Trey White there, as well as Josh Palmer, like I mentioned, added from the Los Angeles San Diego Superchargers. A nice role piece there just to give them just yet another NFL receiver. A lot of talk out of the Bills camp. Can Keon Coleman make a leap? He is nursing a groin injury right now and is limited, so not great for him. They return all 5 starters along the offensive line. Their defensive line, they added a couple players in the draft. Deion Walker, TJ Sanders. They also drafted Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, a blazing fast cornerback they were excited about. He is on the IR. Sounded like he was carted off during camp, and fear was that he was going to miss the season. Doesn't sound like it's that intense of an injury, but Joey Bosa, some depth that's suspended, a couple draft picks. Josh Palmer, not really a lot of additions for the Buffalo Bills. Circles around Josh Allen and that kind of Sean McDermott nickel defense. We've talked about these guys so many times. They like to stay in nickel. Ravens looking like they're going to be without Pat Ricard and Isaiah Likely. Some murmurs, maybe Lucas Scott, an offensive lineman from Army, who's been taking some snaps there at fullback. Jair Alexander, obviously a big addition for the Ravens. Full participation Thursday, which was a nice move up, but looks like Ravens without Likely and without Ricard. Likely, no surprise. Ricard, maybe a little bit of one there. So if you want to pull up the Bills injury report as well, Jake. Tyler Bass, hip and groin, no bueno. Benford, the standout corner who got a big extension. He is limited than full. Dwayne Carter placed on the injured reserve, I believe. Keon Coleman, 2 limited sessions on Wednesday and Thursday. Elijah Moore not practicing Thursday. Another addition there. Pardon me. Forgot about him. Then my boy, my absolute boy. Then Khalil Shakir, ankle. I think Khalil Shakir's always got a little something. He's got a little Brady to him, I think. He's got a little, he's going to be on that report. He's going to be fine. And then Trey White has not practiced. So the Bills very well might kind of quietly not be near full strength defensively, not maybe quite as bad as when the Ravens played them at home last year on the 29th and ran rampant and all that stuff and kind of blew them out there. So definitely some banged up dudes for these Bills. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson show. I don't know, man. My first thought for this game is just the Ravens defense. Can't wait to see how they respond. That turf, not the best. I think the Bills know how to play it. It truly is Winterfell up there. I mean, it was just ice on turf. It's not the best turf. They have a big stadium they're building next door. And I just really am curious to see how this defense responds. They make some additions. That pass rush looks pretty mean. They lose a couple faces. Michael Pierce, I would say, retiring was a pretty big loss overall. But Roquan Smith's comments that the Bills ran for 147 yards, you got to make them one-dimensional, starts with stopping the run. Bills were able to stay out of trouble so much last time they faced in the playoffs, and that was staying out of trouble by running the ball well, I'd say, on first and second down. Ray Davis, James Cook, Josh Allen himself really ran the ball quiet but effectively, and had a couple explosive runs, able to power into the end zone a couple times there. So that stings. That stings Roquan Smith's spirit. And that he's been thinking of that one for a while. Kyle Hamilton, all these guys. So that's just really my first question. Like, James Cook didn't practice in camp. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but don't let these guys run the football. It's really that simple. It was really difficult because the Ravens' run defense was so vividly dominant for the entire season. And the Bills, that 5-man front, they've got a couple tight ends that like to push and flop and get dirty in there. Reggie Gilliam, the fullback, did a really nice job in that game. They remained composed. The Ravens turned the ball over in their own territory. Bills ran the ball a little bit, made a couple throws, got a PI, and that was enough, man. That was enough to put up 27 points on this defense. So that's going to sting. That's going to sting big time. Thoughts on this defense, Jake, headed into this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's every time they play the Bills, I bring this up. It's because you've got to find a way to get them behind the sticks after first down. Like, don't let them get off to, like you said, a good running start on first down and get themselves into 2nd and 6. And then maybe they do it again and you're in 3rd down and 2, because Josh Allen, maybe better than any single quarterback I've ever watched, and this includes Lamar Jackson, is so damn good at scrambling beyond the chains on money downs. Like, it's every single time on 3rd and 4th down. I think about 4th down against the Chiefs last year, that huge signature win for them in Buffalo. You have a 4th down late in that game and he drops back to pass, not there. And it almost looks like it was predetermined that he was just going to scramble to his right and run through that whole defense for a touchdown and lead them to that huge win. But man, it's example after example of him being able to do stuff like that, pick up first downs in those crucial spots. And, you know, he's also not going to be afraid to throw the arms up. And you mentioned flopping and a little bit of theatrics from Josh. That can be.
It's not just him. They just like to flop, that whole team. And I think it's, I mean, sure, go ahead. It's,
yeah. And it's,
we're talking about,
I've got John Hussey as the ref in this game, which I'm not sure about his record on penalties like that. Apparently he's big on unsportsmanlike conduct, which is a big point of emphasis for the NFL for the 2025 season, is calling your unsportsmanlike conducts. So hopefully that'll carry over into taking care of some of this flopping stuff. But even without all that, like, the Bills don't really need to do that. Like I said, Allen is like one of the best short yardage quarterbacks I've seen maybe since Cam Newton, as far as like 3rd down, 4th down, you need a bucket. He'll get you a bucket. He'll get you those 3 yards when you need the 2. He'll get you 5 when you need 4. And he'll just absolutely just rip your heart out, because it just there's very few things as demoralizing as a fan when you feel like you're just about to get that big stop and then just kind of miraculously, inexplicably, the guy just makes, pulls a rabbit out of a hat and makes a big play. And that's probably very ironic coming from a Lamar Jackson fan. I would have to say many other fan bases would probably say the same thing about him. But just in these high leverage situations, these big games that they've played against the Bills more than probably any other AFC team over the years, I just feel like I've seen Josh do that to them so many times. So that's one thing I'd say, is just to absolutely emphasize first down. And then we've talked about it all off season. Find a way to turn the football over. Like, show that you can do that. You can get your hands on the ball. You can make splash plays on defense, because what was it, 16 or 17 interceptions last year, which is near the bottom of the
total
NFL.
Total turnovers.
Total turnovers. You're right. Yeah, excuse me, which is near the bottom of the NFL. That's not going to get it done in an NFL where everything is so offensive and high risk, high reward, like bombing it deep on offense. You got to kind of have the same mentality on defense if you want to win against these alien type quarterbacks like an Allen and like a Mahomes. And as we've talked about ad nauseum, that's a big reason why they haven't been able to beat these guys in the playoffs, when their defenses are able to do that to the Ravens and to these other teams. You've got to show that you have that different mentality, that you're going to be the hunters. You're not just going to sit back on your heels and try to just defend the sticks every single time. And, we're just going to, fundamentally sound our way into like a victory where Lamar has to go on 4 touchdown drives. And, that's just not going to work for you. You got to get short fields. You got to set your offense up for success. And you've got to build that own momentum for yourself. I think prove to yourself that you can be a defense that can go on the offensive in your own way and make your impact on this game. Don't just kind of sit back on your heels. Like I said, get forward, use Kyle Hamilton in interesting ways, try to get him, forcing that football out. Let's get a little Marlin fruit punch. Let's try to get some of that going on. And you know what? You got Kyle Hamilton on the back end too, if you need him there. You've got Malachi Starks there. Let's pick a ball off or two, because I like I said, it just, we need to start seeing that happening as soon as possible in this season, to prove throughout the rest of the year that they can do it when the playoffs come around. So
a lot of good stuff there, and I've got some fast facts to rip that support of what you said. You started with talking about Josh Allen's ability as a scrambler. Since entering the NFL in 2018, according to Next Gen Stats, Josh Allen leads all quarterbacks in scramble yards, 2,894, While Lamar Jackson on the other side leads the position in designed rushes, Allen has recorded a league-leading 25 scramble rushing touchdowns over that span. Jackson on the other side, 26 touchdowns on designs, excluding quarterback sneaks, leads the NFL. Josh Allen recorded 27 quarterback sneaks in 2024, the second most in the NFL, trailing only Jalen Hurts. Allen converted 23 of those into first downs and 6 touchdowns, both of those ranked second. So you mentioned a few of those aspects. The biggest thing for me is simply, said it every time, the Ravens, a team that has been a little upside down, leading the league in sacks, but middle of the pack in pressures. In that matchup in Baltimore, where noise is a factor, certainly, Josh Allen was pressured on 15 out of 35 dropbacks, 42.9%. On those dropbacks, he was 5 of 12 for 90 yards. When not blitzed, he actually performed better than when blitzed a little bit there. I definitely think noise has a factor in that in Ravens Stadium on a primetime game against the Buffalo Bills, certainly. But then you fast forward to in Buffalo, in that icy game where the Bills are running the ball well, I'll mention too, Allen was pressured on only 30% of dropbacks. He only had 23 total dropbacks. He only threw for 127 yards, but under pressure, he was 3 of 7 for 47 yards. A little bit better, kept clean, 13 of 16, only 3 incompletions, was able to get the ball out underneath. So I think it simply comes down to that. I think that the Ravens have several Josh Allens on their defensive line. I went on Cover One to preview this game and talk about some matchups. And I look at Mike Green as someone who can tackle Josh Allen, like grab his ass and get him and tie him up at minimum. I look at Kyle Van Noy as someone who can grab Josh Allen. I look at Odafe Owe as literally Josh Allen. Like those are the same sized people that are freak athletes. I look at Tavius Robinson as someone I'm really excited to see what he can do setting the edge in this game. Looking at him, the Jarrett Johnson comparisons, then bringing Jarrett Johnson in. He wears 95 because of Jarrett Johnson. They watch film together, then set that damn edge, dent those tight ends in, play a little bit more of him. Let's see what he can do. Stopping the run is what enabled the Ravens to get more pressure. Of course, scoring points, putting the Bills in a negative game script also helped with that via Derrick Henry starting the game off with, a 9,000-yard touchdown run. Past those safeties, all of those were fantastic. So what can the Ravens do? To me, fuck it, man. I want to see the Ravens play like the Bills defense a little bit in this one at first. Drop 7 in coverage, work Hamilton in there, work, a couple blitzes here and there, a twist, stunt, rush 4. The Bills 5 might be the best 5 this year. The Eagles lost a couple guys. The Bills might have the best 5. So maybe it's a little stupid of me to say this, but I want to see. Let's see what Nnamdi Madubuike, maybe Travis Jones, maybe a Peebles, maybe a Broderick Washington, and whatever linebackers you want to put on the field, whether it's Ajabo, whether it's Mike Green, whether it's Odafe Owe, whether it's Van Noy, let those guys rush and see what happens. Test your 4 on their 5. I'd like to see it when you do get into those down and distances. And really, I think of that defining play for Josh, for the Bills. I think this might be crazy. The Bills had a good game plan, but the defining play of that game for me, thinking of the Bills and a play they made, was 3rd and long, down 7-0 after the Ravens marched down and scored, and clean pocket, enough time. Ravens play cover 2, floated the ball over Brandon Stevens before the safeties on a huge gain to Khalil Shakir, who I think caught 6 of 6 targets in that game for like 67 yards, something like that, moved the chains for them. So no pressure there. Perfect ball. Gotta move him off his spot almost as often as not. If you can get 45% pressure plus on those passing downs, I think the Ravens have a great day. To me, it starts with stopping the run. It starts with Tavius Robinson. It starts with whoever, I guess Trenton Simpson's going to starts with him. I think it starts with that. And then let's see what these 4 and 5, man rushes can do. Really those 4-man rushes. So the Bills offensive line plus Josh Allen, that is why they're good. Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, some experience inside now. Cyrus Torrance, a highly regarded player who maybe isn't quite as athletic as his draft position, some stuff like that, but good players, man, inside. So I think I think really, frankly, on the other side of the football, it's September. The Ravens play well in September. I think the offense moved the ball well against the Bills. I think they'll move the ball against the Bills. We'll talk about it. But I think this game is simply decided up front, and really, especially on those money downs.
Yeah, definitely got McGovern in there too. I mean, they got, some pretty solid players. They're sneaky because when I think of that offensive line, I'm mainly only thinking of Dawkins, who's been there for a little while, and then obviously Brown, both of which are pretty solid within the PFF grades that I'm looking at here. 77.9 for Brown, 72.4 for Dawkins, which is pretty solid, probably right around league average. And he's probably, I would assume, going to be better than that in a week one where he's coming back fully healthy and just kind of ready to rock. So, yeah, I think just putting a bow on it. Yeah, I think it's finding a way to get Allen off of schedule, to not allow him to play with the poise and the calmness. That's a word that you use a lot, is just very calm. And, I think that's sort of what separates these guys. Like when you look at, we've been talking about Jordan Love a little bit, right? And you look at all the physical skills and how much I love him as a player, just because he's so fun to watch. He kind of gives me some Jordan Spieth vibes, just like you never know what's going to happen. It could be great, it could be bad. But there is a little bit of a panicky nature to his play where his footwork gets super weird. And like sometimes that leads to a really fun highlight, but it can also lead to something disastrous happening. You do not see that happen with Allen. You don't see it happen with Jackson very often. You don't see it happen with Burrow very often. You don't see it happen with Mahomes. Like these guys are just, like you said, they're super calm. They're super poised. And even if you do get them in a negative game script and try to knock them off their spot, there's a chance that they won't kind of get rattled internally. But I think you have to try and do as best you can early on in this game to allow for that to happen. Like you did, like you said, in that regular season matchup against the Bills last year. Get them off his spot early, try to have them chasing, get them in that negative game script, and just allow your offense to, we'll get into it, but as Lamar said, finish their drives. I think those are all going to be pretty big keys.
Certainly. Greg Fritz here in the comments. Good to be back, boys. What worries you the most about the Bills? What's the Ravens' biggest mismatch they may try to exploit? The first question, what worries you most about the Bills? I pulled this one up because it's that word used. It's just that they're calm. It's just that they're calm until they're down. And I look at this Ravens defense as a defense that was on their skates all year last year, turned it around, didn't play a ton of great competition, but really turned it around late. But I felt like they were still limited, very much so. Brandon Stevens was getting picked on. So if they trot out Alexander, Chidobe Awuzie, if they trot out Marlin out wide and Wiggins out, it's going to be Wiggins. Sounds like he's going to be on the left side. They stuck him on the left side last year. I think they love him. I think he is going to make a meteoric jump this year. So what worries me is the Bills being able to calmly run the ball and calmly protect Josh Allen. And it's simply that. I think this game is simply decided by that. I think the Ravens have better talent. I think that they had an opportunity this offseason to focus on turning the football over, focus on the standard of defense that they want to be. They still are running sim pressures. They still are playing some man, playing some zone, too high, single high. They're rotating. They're disguising all of those things. So at that, I mean, Malachi Starks, Zach Orr's comments this week were that he just fully trusts him. Kyle Hamilton went on the lounge and basically said that guy, Kyle Hamilton was basically, when I was him, I was dumb. And he said, I'm jealous of him. He was like, I'm jealous of where he's starting as a rookie, how smart he is. Kyle Hamilton kind of probably talking a little smack through like the teeth because he loves to, but he's like, oh yeah, he got here. He already knew the playbook. Oh yeah. He's telling me what the communication is. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, bud. Like, so Malachi Starks are going to be a big part of that.
Listen to Gruden talk about Starks if you want to get fired up. Gruden absolutely loves him. They've spent a lot of time together, and he raves about just him in the classroom, which I think for a rookie with all the physical tools to like have that kind of be your main point that people talk about is your maturity, your work ethic, and like your ability to absorb a playbook. Like that's huge. So I'm pumped about this pick, honestly. Like the more I think about it,
especially when Kyle Hamilton is the one that had to do all of that and step back into that role. If Malachi Starks can step into that role, then it unleashes Hamilton as a complete. Kyle Hamilton becomes the queen on the chessboard. He's going in any direction, any place, any time, and can kill anything. So it worked. I also I just always love the victory dance I was able to do after Hamilton did exactly what people said he couldn't, which was play deep safety at a really high level. So that one always gets the nips a little hard for me. Just who what did you watch him at fucking Notre Dame, man? He was the best deep safety in his class. So that always was fun. But if Malachi Starks, to me, I think, and you mentioned Gruden, it sounds like your boy, Jake. It sounds like the way people talk about Malachi Starks is what Jamal Adams thought that he was. It's like the real Mr. President, Jamal Adams, who was a great player. I loved him. I wanted the Ravens to trade for him. But ultimately, it sounds like Malachi Starks is the smartest, is the most presentable, is the president. It sounds like he is the CEO of the defense, and that's why they drafted him. You know, he's got range. He can tackle, stuff like that. But I think the IQ, the smarts, the professionalism is why the Ravens drafted him and parked that next to Kyle Hamilton and then signed Kyle to a $100 million deal, first safety to ever get it. So all of those I look at on that side of the ball. On the other side of the ball, I really don't know what to say other than two things. And I'm just going to say Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. The Ravens didn't have Zay Flowers in that last matchup. And we saw them use Anthony Miller. We saw them use, oh my God, I can't even remember. What other, they had another receiver that they had to elevate and played. Was it, who the hell was it? If you can find that for me while I'm on this little rant here. I think there was somebody else. The chat helped me out. Anthony Miller and one other receiver that ended up coming in. But Cole's maybe still watching, and maybe he can get it for me. But I digress. I saw that Zay Flowers, according to Next Gen Stats, traveled 2,300 yards before the snap in motion last year. That is astronomical. And I've never thought of it that way, the amount of whirlwind he is running.
I don't think you'll be able to guess this in a million years.
Steven Sims. Steven Sims. It came to me after a bit. And I love both those guys stepped up in that game. Zay
had one catch for 4 yards. Yeah, I pulled up the box score. I was like, Steven Sims, are you goddamn kidding me? Zay Flowers not playing in that game is not talked about enough.
It isn't. Zay Flowers traveled 2,300 yards pre-snap, fifth most in the NFL. He was in motion at the snap on 19.6% of his snaps, the seventh highest among wide receivers. Motion makes the defense feel like they're in an ocean. It feels like you're rocking and swaying, and you've got to try to fight back. You've got to think. You've got to try to float a little bit and figure it out. Zay Flowers being in motion and being the threat that he is a big deal. Very big deal. So I think that's a huge factor for the Ravens in this game. I think because of that, I mean, we just watched Rashad Bateman run right fucking by them a few times. It was cold and windy, and even the one deep ball, he should have had another touchdown. Lamar, couldn't put it where he wanted. Still got him down to the 1 yard line. They plunged it in, but Cole goes, me and Spenny were sitting 3 rows up calling out their motion patterns live. Yep. Give us a fucking headset, Cole. Just give us a headset. But so with that, I think the presence of Zay Flowers, working him early, I think Benford's a good corner. I think these safeties are smart. Rashad Bateman already showed you he can just run by them. Zay Flowers can run by those guys. Like, they are a problem for the Bills secondary. The Bills, without Ricard, is going to, I think, really thoroughly keep the Bills into nickel. I think they're going to stay in their nickel. This is not the highest stakes game on earth. Like, if McDermott loses this game, it's not the end of the world, whatever. So I think they stay in that nickel a little more. They've got their linebackers that they had in the divisional round as opposed to the ones they had in September. So I think they sit in there a little more than they even did in that playoff game. And I believe that is going to have a bad impact on what they want. I think that Derrick Henry and the Ravens run game, and we'll see some Keaton Mitchell. I think in this, I genuinely think the Ravens are going to unload Keaton Mitchell very, very, very quickly. But I think it's going to end up with those safeties thinking that they're good, and they're not going to be. Taylor Rapp, not someone that can run. I think he's a nice safety. Cole Bishop has athleticism and some range. Second-year safety out of Utah State. I think he was a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Nice player for them. They do have DeMar Hamlin.
From regular Utah.
He's just Utah. Yep, Utah. Yeah. Athlete, sure, we'll see. We'll see if he can put my foot in my mouth. Deagle here, more like Taylor Crap. The good one, Deagle, in the comments. But I think Bateman already showed us. I think Zay Flowers can run by those guys. I mean, Cole's here.
I think they signed Poyer too back, who's like 35 years old at this point.
He was. I thought he was a scout. Him and Tony Jefferson should just kid.
Yeah.
I think they're like, wasn't he supposed to be a scout or something? Anyway, Cola says here, Zay in motion, drawing attention, gets nuke one-on-one outside, all those things. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. There's nothing scary about the Bills defense. What did we already say though? They're just calm. They can get some pressure. They keep plays in front of them. They play in their safe shell. But I think the Ravens are just more explosive and talented, and they put up points. They turned the ball over a couple times, being dum-dums. But they scored points in that game. They should have had 27 points. They had 25 points in a playoff game. Colsey's not impressed with Joey Bosa. We'll see what kind of shape they get him in. You never know. But yeah, the name is certainly, it's like Clowney. And Clowney is good for the Ravens, and maybe it's that impact like Clowney had for the Ravens in Bosa for the Bills. The name exceeds the impact ultimately. But
61.1 PFF last year. That's the worst of his career, like by far.
Health has to be wealth with him, very much so. And I would say he could end up having that Jadeveon-like Clowney impact for the Bills, what Clowney did for the Ravens. They're pedigree players, highly regarded. They know what they're doing. They just struggle with health and maybe aren't in the best situations always. And Buffalo could get some juice out of it. I mean, we'll see. People said that about Von Miller too. So it's case by case though. Joey Bosa and Von Miller, different people, different players, different things. Same place though. So does Joey Bosa terrify you? I don't know. Cole is following along here, probably, bedtime-ish, but I will say this. One area of concern I have, it's not necessarily against the Bills. Roger Rosengarten played really well last year. Still a young tackle next to Faalele. You don't have Ricard, likely not in there. Kohler's going to probably play a ton of snaps in this game. I would think he plays 40, 45, 50% of snaps, 30, 35 snaps in this game, if not even maybe more. So just looking at that right side of the line, young player who played well. We like Rosengarten. We like what we've seen. Definitely had time to clean things up, but it's live action, and we'll see, man. Cole says this is run blocking, all those things, and whatever. You can get away with some stuff because of Lamar Jackson, but I think it's a little tougher. The Ravens offense didn't run the ball particularly crazily well in that playoff game, but I think the footing's a little better, and they just haven't ran the ball in the cold in Buffalo particularly well in those playoff games. A little different, I think, in September for them. So overall, the run game, I mean, would love to see them get out in space. I would love Andrew Voorhees is kind of the wild card here, and what they can ask him to do. If they can ask him to reach, if they can ask him to down and enable Tyler Linderbaum to get out in space, I think that could be a death quell if it is the place, or it is the plan. So a lot of familiarity here. I mean, we've broken the same matchup down 4 times in the last 2.5 or 3 years. So overall, it's going to be that nickel defense. Teron Johnson trying to come up and stab Derrick Henry in the calves and take his legs out, all that kind of stuff. I would love to see the Ravens work the perimeter, work the screen game to Zay Flowers a little bit on the perimeter, and get Derrick Henry out on that edge and see what they can get out of whatever corners on the opposite side of Benford. Make whoever the other corner is. It might be Trey White. I don't have the depth chart in front of me. Whoever the hell it is. Make them come up and tackle, make them make plays. But Bills defense just doesn't scare me. They're good enough defense to complement the offense, and they'll let you make mistakes. So threaten them with a kitchen sink of run game stuff, hit those deep shots, make them back up a little bit. I think the Ravens will be able to work the middle of the field. I mean, Matt Milano, still a nice player. They've invested in their linebackers inside, but I don't know. It's just kind of at this point, it feels like the Ravens have already broken through. Like they had those 2 stupid turnovers. They already smacked this defense in the mouth in the playoffs. Sure, they're missing a couple guys. Terrell Bernard, a nice player, very much my guy for me. But there's been others to fall at the hands of Jackson. So I think they're ready to rock and roll. I think the Ravens put up points in this game. I think that there's going to be deep ball issues for the Bills. I'm looking at Bateman. I'm looking at DeAndre Hopkins, not as much in the deep category. Look at Tez Walker. Looking at those guys to run and see if these Bills safeties can run. Let's see Cole Bishop really run. And if he makes a play, so be it. So be it. If you can get them to sit in their shell, hit those posts over top, all those things, hit those right between those zones, see if you can just zoom by them. They'll give you some free releases, things like that. So Rashad Bateman, knock on wood for him. 750 yards last year. Not surprised. Year 15 of me saying I'm not surprised if Rashad Bateman has an even better year, but I'm not, man. I'm not. He ended the year on such a high note, scoring touchdowns in those playoff games, gets the extension. I'm looking at him and Zay Flowers to me are the deciding factor in this game, and I think that tandem is going to really get a lot more love when we're getting towards the bye week, week 7, things like that. I think they're in a prime spot, healthy camp, good to go. I think they can run right by the Bills, plain and simply.
Yeah, no, this feels like an 11 personnel game to me. I mean, this feels like Zay and Rashad kind of being your perimeter guys. This feels like Nuke Hopkins working out of the slot. I mean, you mentioned, can the Bills safeties run with them? And obviously you're going to try some shot plays in that regard, but I think you run a couple of those and then all of a sudden you're clearing out space for Hopkins. You're clearing out space for Mark Andrews in those soft spots in the intermediate and the short areas. And I think that's going to be huge. And obviously that'll open up things for the run game as well. So yeah, man, I'm expecting diversified plans of attack, like you said, with the deep stuff. But I also think obviously get creative in the run game. I probably would expect Justice Hill to score a touchdown in this game. I just feel like when you least expect him, he pops up and gets into the paint. So that would be maybe
everybody always forgets about him. Just blends in back there. He's slight. He kind of is so good in pass pro, and he just fires out.
I think I might throw him in the big beautiful parlay this week. And yeah, so he's going to be one of those, cogs in the machine, so to speak. But overall, like you said it, man, like I feel like this offense proved what they had to prove the last couple of years in the playoffs for the most part. It's time for this defense to do so. And obviously we're not going to be able to really fully evaluate that until around 18 plus weeks from now. But I think if you want to go out there and make a statement and prove that you can be that big time kind of ball hawking, just thumping defense that can put the ball on the ground and recover it, I think this is as good of a spot as any to do it against, like I said, your biggest rival and one of the best offenses in the league and the defending league MVP at quarterback. So
looking at the special teams, Tyler Loop, whatever, but special teams, Ravens make signings. Hummel, dude they just brought in from the Saints.
JT Gray.
JT Gray, multi-time All-Pro from the Saints that they snagged. I'm looking at LeJontay Wester. I'm looking at this unit. I'm looking at John Harbaugh in particular. I mean, he prides himself on it. He's been vocal about it for years and years. After a shitty year last year, really overall in most special teams phases, all special teams phases wasn't the best year for the Ravens. Quietly, the kickoff touchback was moved up another 5 yards. So the Ravens have been messing around with these little curling two-seam cutter sweeper, EFIS, whatever the hell, kicks. I'm looking at this special teams to make a stand and get back to being elite. LeJontay Wester returning punts, I assume there. We'll see who they trot back kickoff-wise, maybe Keaton Mitchell. But I think that this is a exciting off-season for special teams and them to mess around. And they were certainly getting creative, which I expected them to do last year. And John Harbaugh blatantly shit on his own special teams last year and was like, we're kicking the ball in the end zone. I don't trust these guys. They're all really young. So they return a lot of guys that are on that unit. They make some additions, some new experienced rookies, some literally signings, JT Gray and Hummel there. We'll see if Gray gets activated or not. But excited to see what the special teams can do. I'm looking for the Ravens special teams to flip the field. Like those are turnovers. That's another way of creating a turnover effectively, is receiving a punt and flipping the field. So LeJontay Wester looked electric. That might be the thing that has me arguably horniest, is LeJontay Wester returning punts. I am excited for that one. Love that dude. Gushed about him when they drafted him, and I'm excited to see. Obviously, he housed one in the preseason, but looked like he knows what the hell he's doing back there, has some visions, grace, and loved his ability to always return to getting vertical in the limited punt returns I did see. He finds that crease and punches it. So excited about that. Bills have good special teams too, but excited to see the battle of the special teams here very much, especially LeJontay Wester back there. That is I'm fired up for LeJontay West returning punts. I think he's going to be a monster this year. I think he's going to be a multi-year monster back there returning punts. I think Ravens fans are going to fucking love his personality. He comes from, Ravens fans love Deion Sanders. He was a Raven. He always speaks highly of the Ravens, comes from primetime U out there and was a damn good player for them. So excited to see it. And I think he makes a huge play. That'll be my prediction. I will be I might start slamming some. I'm going to tell you this. Let's start every week. Let's put a little action on Ravens defense, special teams touchdown. These dogs are hungry for them after all the disrespect. Dan Orlovsky's on ESPN saying you don't get enough turnovers. The iciest play, arguably, of the last 10 years of Ravens defensive football is Kyle Hamilton, first play, batting the ball and stepping into, literally barely walking into the end zone and just looking around. So I am fired up for the Ravens defense and special teams to put points on the board. It is their turn. Lamar has been doing it. We got Lamar. We can, play conservative. No, it's time to be as you put it so eloquently, Jake, it is time to be the sword, not the shield. So I'm looking at the Ravens special teams to be a part of that equation as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that point. It was something that was a factor in both of their Super Bowl seasons. This is probably, like I said, as much of a Super Bowl aspirant season as, I could think of, certainly since probably 2019. I think 2023 I'd put up there as well. And that obviously wound up working well, but this is a loaded team and you got to win in all three phases. And you think back to Jermaine Lewis, you think back to Jacoby Jones, man, that will be a lot of fun if they could have a couple of big returns this year. Return to that John Harbaugh special team style football. Kick the ball a little bit better, whatever you want to think of, like Justin Tucker, this, that, and the other. The guy was already declining the last couple of years anyway. I'd like to see Loop, as much as I want him to make as many kicks as possible. How about some nice long game winners? Let's get a little.
Randy Brown said to give him a little grace. They're working on his trajectory. They're trying to get him to hit low stingers.
Yeah,
so the wind doesn't mess around, and they are outdoors. So I will say, fuck kickers, but give him a little bit of grace.
Which you can tell with every miss seemed to be wide left, both in practice and then his couple misses in the preseason. It seems like they were working on a specific trajectory, and he's going to have a specific miss, which is, that's, I guess, a good thing. I don't know the first thing about
very similar to golf. They all talk about how similar it is to golf. If you know where your miss is, you're good to go. If you got a two-way miss,
Yeah, exactly. And, you go out there and you make a 61-yarder. I don't care what your name is. I feel like you're probably going to be able to.
He has to make his first 47-yard field goal. Otherwise, it's just going to – don't go to – whatever. I don't care. Everyone's going to be tweeting about Tyler Loop missing a kick. I'm going to – great. Can't wait. How about this? How about don't kick a field goal in this game? How about go for it every time?
Yeah, I'm with that too. I think like in an environment like this, Bills fans are going to be fired up. It's going to be raucous. So get yourself into, like I always say, get yourself into 3rd down and 3, and then run it, and then run it again, and pick up that 4th down. That's what I like to do, and then what I feel like they've done a good job of. But sometimes they can overthink things. Sometimes they can go for the wrong 4th down. It'll be like a random 4th and a long 3, and John's sending him back out there, and it doesn't look fully committed, and you do these weird direct snap to Derrick Henry against Cleveland last year. That was a strange one that they don't pick up. Like you said, it's aggression in the right spot.
Pop pass. What are we doing? If they don't run pop pass this season, I'm gonna lose my marbles.
They did score. So Henry's first touchdown, if I remember correctly, or no, it wasn't his first, but his touchdown against the Raiders was a direct snap last year.
I want a pop pass.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's good.
Derrick Henry should have 3 passing attempts this year.
Yeah,
Thank you, Cole. I forgot about Falele goal line carry. Everybody hates Falele. Fucking let the pirate cards out. Give the fat fuck a fucking handoff and get him in there and let him spike the ball down to New Zealand and summon his fucking ancestors. Get that guy.
After what happened,
what are we doing?
After what happened to homeboy from Princeton, I think on the Bears last season, that spooks me. The idea of giving the big guy the pebble down there by the goal line when he fumbled it.
Falele has done this. Falele knows how to receive a handoff. He did it at Minnesota.
He's a rugby player. Okay, yeah.
The best. He is a rugby, yes, as well. And now you're all in. I need it. It is Cole said it's a pebble in his hand and in 6'8" hands. The best troll that the Baltimore Ravens, who are clearly in their feels for Daniel Falele, they've been PR protecting, whatever. I want to go watch this football game, so I have to stop, but I could go for 30 minutes on this. The best troll that the Baltimore Ravens could do, the highest entertainment value of this game would be handing Daniel Fa'alele the football on the goal line. Please, God, dear God, please, God, I've been waiting. Please. Please.
Yeah, I'm with it. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think
four players that I think define this Ravens season as like sneaky additions or younger players ascending. Jarrett Johnson Jr., Tavis Robinson. I just want to put this take out there. Andrew Voorhees, Malachi Starks, and LeJontay Wester. Those are the 4 dudes that if they are dudes, this Ravens team is like the Eagles last year, in my opinion.
And Mike,
I think that they are electrically dominant if those 4 guys are guys. I want to put that into the ethos.
And Mike, did you say Mike Green?
No, I did not. I'm not adding him to the list.
I am. He's on my list.
I think that Mike Green could be absolutely elite. We've talked about him, but those are 4 guys where I think the Ravens are expecting Mike Green to be really good, and Malachi Starks, of course, too. But I think if those 4 guys are good, it does so much for this team. Mike Green, sure, but
I just want to just get pressure with 4. Get pressure with 4 and bring down Mahomes and bring down Allen.
And that's Spencer Brown's a nice one I would like to see because he's tall, he's athletic, and Mike Green can get low and bend that corner. So I would love to see him test Spencer Brown specifically. Deion Dawkins, I love Deion Dawkins. I love Deion Dawkins. He's hilarious. They split him out wide. Like his split is like 5 yards sometimes, and he's just fucking chops people's arms down. I will not hate on, you already should know, Deion Dawkins. Don't like the Bills overall. There's rivalry budding. I like Deion Dawkins.
Wearing his Orioles hat in the locker room inexplicably.
Love it. All right, prediction time. I don't know. I think the Ravens are really good, man. I think the Ravens are really good. I think Josh Allen's really good, but I think the Ravens just have a better roster. I think they play better in these types of games when it's dry out and it's prime time and it's nighttime and all that kind of stuff. I think the Bills can summon Winterfell, all that stuff, but I'm looking at this Ravens defense as the spear, as the tough unit of now. I think they finally are cozy, comfortable, got Pagano, all that stuff. I think the secondary is electric. I think they're hungry dogs on prime time. They play up to it. I'm taking the Ravens. I think the Ravens score 3 touchdowns, kick 2 field goals, 27. Bills score 3 touchdowns, no field goals, 27-21.
I love that. Love that energy. I hate to be the damper, but I just think it's a tough spot week 1 against this Bills team in Buffalo. God forbid they put this game in Baltimore. God forbid the Ravens play Allen or Mahomes in Baltimore, literally ever. They certainly could have. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. They certainly could have in the playoffs, the Ravens, if they just kind of taken care of business a little bit better. So I'm not going to totally blame the NFL for this, but like I said, just a tough spot, week 1, prime time. But I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be competitive. I expect the Ravens to turn the ball over at least once. And let's go with the Ravens. Lose this one 28-27. It's a shootout. It might maybe even, you're talking about a game-winning field goal or something like that. But yeah, I'm expecting a close one. I'm expecting a shootout. I don't think we're going to be thinking lesser of whoever loses this game, pretty much regardless of how it plays out. But I think you'll feel good about both these. I'm thinking heavyweight fight. And like I said, a rivalry renewed and a rivalry that probably has a lot of years, a lot of mileage left in the odometer here. And this is going to be another good entry to that. So I'm unfortunately picking the Ravens to lose, but I've kind of had that circled for a couple of weeks. I hinted at it on the NFL preview pod. So that's just where I'm at, sadly.
I have another 80 comments to make, but let's just end it. I'll end with this. Thank you to everyone who joined the Morning Mugs Exit 52 Survivor Pool. You will not be able to join after Sunday morning. I believe you have until 12:59 Eastern Standard Time. 200 folks have joined. Morning Mugs, best coffee in Baltimore, Baltimore Magazine's 2025 winner, Exit 52 podcast. Thanks to you guys, the 52 percenters, better than most. Officially. Thanks to you guys for voting us Best of Baltimore. We are collabing to have a little Survivor pool. You can win an Exit 52 hoodie, $50 of Morning Mugs merch, and a week of free coffee or a pound of beans from Morning Mugs. They will ship them to you so you can have coffee for at least a week, unless you're just a sicko drinking 8 cups a day, poundal. If so, let's hang out if you're drinking a pound of coffee a week. But 18 plus to play, free to enter. Not affiliated with ESPN, not affiliated with Disney in any way, but go play it. You can click Exit 52 link in bio on our Twitter, on our Instagram, or on my Twitter page. I have our link in bio. You'll see it right there. Go join. Let's get up to 250. Free to play. Can win some cool prizes. We got some more little deals for those that enter the pool that'll come through at Morning Mugs. Best coffee shop in Baltimore. So good. So good. We're going to have Tyler on the podcast at some point during the season.
Who'd you go with this week?
I went with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they played all the starters in the preseason. I think they're so pissed at how they've started in September. Zach Taylor might as well be freaking Bernie, weekend at Bernie's. Like, Joe Burrow's not letting them lose week 1 to the Browns. No. I promise.
I've had the same thought about them. I took the Pats versus the Raiders at home. I'm trying to save my big guns for later. I think Cincinnati, if we get to like week 4 and I start to check these DVOAs and you see some shitty defenses, I think Burrow is just going to be lighting them up. You're going to have Dan Orlovsky just holding, like Walter Cronkite, addressing the nation after each of these big Joe Burrow games, pushing that MVP narrative. So yeah, I'm going to save them. I'll save my Ravens, save my Bills, save my Chiefs, and Pats versus Raiders, which I might have even picked the Raiders to win that in the overall exercise that we did. But that is what it is. So it's the Pats for me this weekend. Get it. Hashtag it's, get involved, join the conversation, get into the contest and try to win yourself some good coffee and some good merch. But I'm going to be trying to beat you because I like my coffee too. So
go for it. Get us out of here, Jakey.
Thank you all for hanging with us here in the live chat. Thanks to everyone for listening after the fact. You are all amazing. Great listeners over the years, great listeners that we've added recently. We appreciate every single one of you. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to us here on our YouTube page or your podcast platform of choice. Do us a big favor, like the video on YouTube if that is your platform of choice. Comment on it, get the algorithm pumping, tell a friend about us. You can find us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X and on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find Spenny on X at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle there. I am at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. You can find Brian at Barstool Banks, who actually, if you missed last night's happy hour live, go back and check that out. Brian actually, in the midst of recording, he kind of went through and did the NFL playoff predictors exercise, picking every game. He gave us his full rundown at the end of the show, so listen in for that. It was a lot of fun. Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Both those guys will be on Sunday night's Instant Analysis live episode, which will be live here on our YouTube page. So if you're itching for some content in the wake of that game, whether it's going to be sad, whether it's going to be happy, whether it's going to be jubilant, whether it's going to be desperate, we'll be there and we'll be breaking down all the action. So like I said, subscribe to us, get those notifications for when we go live so you can hang out. And like I said, hashtag join the conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Instant Analysis always is a great time. So until then, we'll see you, and you guys have yourselves a great weekend.
See ya.
Arrivederci.